What up, what up? Say so, G. Back in the video. So the title of this video is gonna be, you have to want YouTube. I say again, you have to want YouTube. So admin notes, thanks again, subscribe to the channel. So admin notes, thanks again to all the subscribers that subscribe to the channel. I endeavor to keep pushing the video out. Give you leverage, the better. So yeah, I know I talk a lot, really fast when I say the intro, but I've been getting flamed in the comments lately when it comes to folks not understanding. I guess they wasn't saying it in a bad way, but they were pretty much saying like, I didn't understand what you were saying until I slowed it down. One person asked me what I was saying, so I'm gonna try to articulate that thing a lot better. But but like I said before, I had my head rocked a little bit when I was at war, so sometimes I can think of a word, but sometimes it doesn't come out the way I want it to come out. So y'all forgive me, what I'm saying. I'll be trying to push this video out, give you leverage to better yourself. So however it comes, that's how it's gonna be. So let's get into it. So why do I say that you have to want YouTube? So I'm gonna make this anecdotal to myself, give myself as an example. And I'm gonna try to explain this thing the best way possible so it doesn't sound like a contradiction. But if you follow me, if you follow my logic, then you'll understand what I'm saying. So growing up in Norfolk, Virginia, in the 80s and 90s, in the projects, the only thing that we played as far as a sport was basketball and football. Some of the OGs that I talked to when I was younger in the 80s said that at one point in the 50s and 60s, there was a really big surge of people that was interested in baseball. And there are some baseball fields in the projects. Now you got to understand that the projects in Norfolk and in some of the other cities in the 757 Hampton Roads area were built by the Army Corps Engineers. So these are basically apartments that were built during World War II. So site-based housing, right? So you have football fields, basketball courts. A lot of them had baseball fields, but the baseball fields wound up being run down because at one point in the 80s, a lot of us were uninterested. And then by the time the 90s hit, nobody played baseball, right? So the only sport we played was basketball and football. And I'm talking about after school, during the weekend, all day long. That was life, what I'm saying? During recess, we always playing basketball and football. And the area that I come from, in Norfolk and all around Hampton Roads, the 7 cities, produced a lot of famous players of those sports. Like, for example, Bruce Smith. If anybody know who Bruce Smith is, he's a Hall of Famer that played for the Buffalo Bills in the 80s and 90s. He went to my high school in the 80s. Allen Iverson, he played for Bethel High School in Hampton. Know him very well. Not personally, but I've seen him play when he was in high school. Actually, he was a better football player than basketball player, if anybody don't know that. Like, for real. Like, even with his height, he was actually a better football player in high school. Michael Vick played at, I forget what school he played for in Newport News, but that's where he played at in the 90s. Plaxico Burress, he was a football player that played for, I want to say, the Giants. He played at Norview High School in the 90s. Who was Joe Smith. Joe Smith was a basketball player that played for Maury High School in Norfolk. And Joe Smith is the basketball player a couple months ago that has a wife that used to be, I think she used to be, I don't know, OnlyFans, or she used to be like some type of sexual content creator. And they had like this run of all these videos they did recently, just a couple months ago. But anyway, suffice it to say, there's a lot of famous players of those sports from that area. And so there's a lot of motivation to be great in those two sports. To include myself, I was always playing basketball, always playing football, trying to perfect my my skill set in those two sports. And I never, ever, ever got to the point where I felt like that I was a very good football player or a basketball player. Basketball, I mean, the height was kind of an issue. I'm only 5'6", right? So, even though I had some handles and I could handle the rock to a certain degree or whatever, I'm saying, but at the end of the day, I never got to the level of my peers. I just didn't, you know what I'm saying? It just wasn't my thing. Even though I loved basketball, but it didn't matter how much I practiced. It didn't matter how many times I scrimmaged or played other people. I never got as good as my peers, right? So a lot of them moved on to play rec ball. I played rec ball for about 2 years, recreational ball. That's what I mean, like YMCA ball. By the time I got to high school, I wasn't good enough. So I didn't even attempt to even try to play for the team or try for the team because I knew that there was no way. Like, you had superstars that were starting on these teams, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was crazy. There was recruiting from other cities to go to high schools. Like, high school ball, whether it be basketball, football during that time, was crazy. You know what I'm saying? It really was. It was almost like playing college level. These guys were so good, there was no way I could compete. And, you know, of course, with football being 120 pounds soaking wet, that wasn't going to happen either. Even though I was a good wide receiver, but it just, this wasn't going to happen, right? So, in high school, I was only a spectator. And then one day, out of the blue, I ran across this one guy on the tennis court, right? He's my best friend to this day. And I saw him playing tennis, and I'm like, you know what? This is actually not a bad sport. Even though I had followed tennis for a little bit, but I never entertained playing tennis, right? So within a year, I'm playing tennis like I played tennis for my whole life. You know what I'm saying? I had my mom buy these two very expensive rackets. I got a tennis bag. I'm on the court every damn day practicing, hitting on walls, playing against older people after school because there was a subset of older black gentlemen in their 50s and 60s that they had a league down there. And during the warm months, they would use my high school tennis court as their place to play their tournaments. So after the tournament, I would stay out there and I would actually play with these guys. So anyway, getting to the point, I'm just giving a backdrop as far as, like, you know, how this thing is going to be wrapped up when it comes to the subject I'm talking about. So there's one guy that was on my tennis team. His name is Ontario, light-skinned brother, about 6'3". He was a better basketball player than a tennis player. But his tennis style was crazy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know, it's nothing suspect about, you know, looking at another guy and just saying, man, he looks great on the tennis court. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just almost like somebody looking at Michael Jordan. You know what I'm saying? Like, nothing suspect about seeing Michael Jordan was like, damn, he can play very good, right? So this is how I thought about Ontario. And he was a very good tennis player. He really was. And one day I just got into my head when it came to this particular form that I wanted to develop in tennis, and, you know, playing at a very high level. And I'm just getting frustrated, and he's seeing this, and he literally just comes up to me that day. I'll never forget it to this day. I'll never forget it. He said, what's up? And I said, yeah, this backhand I'm trying to perfect. This is not working for me. And he said, you know what, man, you gotta want it. That's all he said after that. He was like, you gotta want it. That stuck with me my whole life. You know what I'm saying? It's a very simple phrase he told me, but I mean, it rings true in everything that I do in life. If I don't want something, I'm not gonna freaking get it. I have to want it. And suffice it to say, later on in my high school career, I wound up actually winning a couple of tournaments. I actually made it to district when it came. Basically, that's like the playoffs of tennis, right? And I mean, I succeeded this as a black teenager in a sport dominated by white boys. Nothing racial about that. I'm just saying that's what the fact was, because, you know, because my high school was 90% black, and we was competing against these white boys that had been playing tennis since birth, damn near literally. You know what I'm saying? And we did very well. We really did. You know what I'm saying? So that was just the drive and the grit that I had to be able to perfect this sport. I still play tennis to this day. So anyways, you know, when it comes to YouTube, if you don't want YouTube, you're not going to get it. If you don't want to be successful in YouTube, you're not going to. You have to want YouTube. You have to want to be up here in order to be successful. You know what I'm saying? This is not like a platform that you want to make money on and you're just going to just be up here half-assing stuff. You can't do that. You have to want it. You have to want success. You have to want to be great on YouTube. So hopefully the backdrop that I gave you guys, you know what I'm saying, like rang true to the topic of the subject at hand. But, you know, I just wanted to give some context for us, like what I mean by this, because, you know, a lot of folks are up here on this platform, you know, getting motivational videos, to include myself to a certain degree, as far as, you know, YouTube. But in order to be on YouTube, you have to want to be, you want to have YouTube. You want to be on YouTube. You have to want it. And if you don't want it, then this might not be the place for you. You know what I'm saying? And, you know, and just going back to my story, right, you know, you see how, you know, I played these sports, but I didn't see myself having any, like, serious growth in it, so I pivoted. So, that's the same way you got to look at when it comes to social media. How sometimes you have to pivot. So YouTube may not be your thing, but you have to want it in order for you to even figure out if you even want to be successful in YouTube or not. So anyway, drop the comment section below. Let me know what y'all think. You're going to discuss this topic or subject you think benefits your channel. Email me at asog757@gmail.com. My email address is in the description below. Say so G, signing out. I'm gone.